Hey everyone, it's your Rocket Rat guide, Josh. Thanks for coming back to our video tutorial series on how to create assemblies in the Rocket Rat Configurator. I hope you've been checking out my past videos on how to create trapeze assemblies, single post assemblies, and double post mount assemblies, but today we're going to be focusing on inline post assemblies. So let's get started. Alright, we're back at the home screen of the configurator. As always, if you want to create a new project, go up to the top left and hit New Project. I've got my configurator example project here, which is hosting all of the assemblies I've created for this video series. As you can see, they're all here with their specific names and their creation dates, as well as options to export the BOMs, edit them, or queue out the PDFs for each specific one to export. We can also duplicate them or throw them away. Alright, under line items, let's go to Add Inline Post Mount. So this is going to give us two rocket posts, just like as if this were a double post assembly. And you can play with this however you want. You can set the posts to be whatever heights you would like. But first, we got to fill out the assembly details. So I'm going to do that real quick. All right, we've got all that information filled out. And just a reminder, these are ways for you to specify exactly where this is supposed to go in your facility. And it's really up to you to decide how you want to name that. So you may be asking, what is an inline post assembly? Well, this is set up exactly like the double post mount assembly that we've already discussed in a previous video. If you go to the Part Children tab, you'll see post 1 and 2 separated out here, and you can go into each one and adjust the height, or you can go ahead and add either a flat assembly or a tented assembly between the two of them. Just like with the double post assembly, you can go in and change the length of the rocket rack here. If we did 18 inches, it would change the distance between the two posts. And of course, it's interfering with the ground right now, so we can change the elevation to 20 and go ahead and change that. You can also switch flat rack from slot only flat rack to one with the standard manufacturing holes. I'm going to keep it on slot only flat rack because it gives us some increased flexibility with where we can place the flat rack, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. So as you can see, exactly the same as we're operating with the double post mount assembly. But if we go out to assembly inline 001 up here at the top, which is what I called my assembly, we can hit add, and it's going to add another post for us to work with. And so here at post 3, we can hit add and choose between a flat rack assembly or a tented rack assembly. So let's add another flat assembly, and it's going to be spread between posts 2 and 3. So to edit this, we're going to hit rack at 0 and change the elevation to 30. And there you have it. Now this rack is set to be a bit longer. So let's say maybe this one is 30 inches and the space between the posts will update automatically. And then it's business as usual, populating this rack with the things that we need. So we go to add and let's hit some U-bolts. And we'll go into the U-bolt level to edit it. And maybe it's supporting some 2-inch conduit, and one of it is going front ways, but if we duplicate it and hit bolt direction back, it'll flip the U-bolt to the other side to support conduit running on the other side of the rack, and we'll just need to change the position. So let's change the position of this one to 5. Maybe we've got one more running that same direction. Let's duplicate it, change the position to -5, which will reflect it left of center. And again, just like with a double post mount, we can duplicate this entire rack. So go to rack at elevation 30, hit duplicate, and then we'll have to change the elevation. Let's change the elevation to 8. Just for fun, we have that exactly where we need it. And then we can always go back to our overall assembly, hit posts 1 and 2, and make any edits we want there. So at the rack at elevation 20, we can go in and hit add, do wire basket, which is again, the wire basket is just a visual representation. The only thing that's being added to the BOM here is the hygienic cable tray clamp. That looks good to me. Let's go into post 2 and change the height of this one to 78. That changes the height of the center post only. We've got some more real estate to work with here. An extension arm. And we'll raise it up here at elevation 60. Okay, as you can see, it's no longer interfering there. All right, let's change the slot size of this to 10.5 and go ahead and populate this rack with whatever is needed for our project. Let's flip the orientation. Okay, let's hit add and a sanitary clamp. Perhaps we would need one here. And because we flipped the orientation, it's not even showing that it's populating onto the rack at the moment. So we're gonna have to adjust that. So we're gonna pan over here and go into sanitary clamp 5.75 and just change that to a negative 5.75 so that it appears with the rack. And there you have it. Let's duplicate it. And we're gonna have to give this one another negative position. So a -8. And that might be a little too close for our liking here. So let's change this position to -11. See what that does for us here. All right, that seems spaced out enough to me. And once again, we can always duplicate this extension arm further down the line if needed. So let's go out to vertical extension arm at 60, duplicate, and change the elevation to, let's try 30. I think it might interfere. Yes, it does interfere. So it needs to go a bit lower. Let's try 25. Okay, there's no interference there. And since we have conduit running on this side being secured by U-bolt, we're not running into anything with these extension arms, and we're also not interfering with the basket tray being supported on this first post. All right, but the fun doesn't stop there. This is an inline post assembly, so we can add as many posts as we want in line with the existing posts already. We just have to go out to the assembly overall, hit add, double post mount, and it's going to add a 4th post right next to the 3rd post. So if we go to post 4, we can hit add a rocket rack tented assembly perhaps, and now this will allow us to mount things running horizontally in this same area. For whatever reason we might have that. We go to tented rack, and change the rack length to change the distance between the posts, say 30, and change the elevation of this tented rack to make sure it's not interfering. Let's make this 15. See, I'm just having so much fun populating this and imagining how this would work in an installed scenario, and you can do the same thing. It's really like a Lego set. You can build this however you want, and the configurator is going to take care of everything on the back end for you, spitting out the BOM of everything you put in here, giving you detailed drawings so you can know exactly what you need. It's just really great stuff. One other thing I don't think I've hit in these videos so far is how to do a horizontal extension arm. Let's go to post 4 here under part children. Let's go to add extension arm assembly, and let's click into it and change it to a horizontal extension arm. So now we've got the extension arm going off one side of this post, and it will be for supporting conduit running horizontally. We just need to raise this up in elevation to say, perhaps it's at 40. There you go. And if we rotate this here, you can see conduit running this direction will be supported. Let's just add a U-bolt to show that. All right, let's change the U-bolt size to 1 inch. And that seems pretty good to me. We've got one lone piece of 1 inch conduit needing to run horizontally at the very end of this installation. For whatever reason, we've got the solution for that right there with that horizontal extension arm. But let's say we've got what we need. We feel good about this. Let's go to actions and hit Queue Outputs. This is going to get the drawing ready, like I've said in previous videos, the PDF that you can download, and that will be queued up under Jobs. And once that's done, it'll show up under Documents. But in the meantime, we can export the BOM. This will give us a spreadsheet of everything that is used to create this installation. All right, we've got the exported PDF here of our inline post mount assembly creation. As you can see here, as always, on the first page, we've got an overview of what we've created. On the second page, we've got a complete parts list, as well as the weight of each part. And then we go rack by rack to show the parts of the BOM that apply to each rack. So here we've got our single flat rack assembly between post 1 and 2. The next rack is the first flat rack between posts 2 and 3. The next page is the duplicate. And then on post 3 and 4, we've got the tinted with the 3 U-bolts. And then we've got the 2 extension arms on post 2 with the sanitary 2-piece clamps for 3/4 inch conduit. And finally, the lone horizontal extension arm with the single U-bolt on post 4. All right, we've exported out the BOM for our inline post assembly. As you can see here, we've got quantities, part numbers, descriptions, and assembly group, area, and room for each of these parts. All right, that just about wraps it up here for us on our inline post mount assembly video. I hope you'll stick around for the next tutorial in this series about how to create a flat rack assembly in the configurator. Hope to see you soon.